President-elect of the Board of Trustees of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Clemson and interim worship chair. And it is my pleasure to be serving as the worship associate this morning for Reverend Christina Branum-Martin. I'm going to start by introducing visitors or inviting visitors to make themselves welcome. We can't introduce you because we can't see you, but we're happy to have any visitors here, however you found us, by the website or word of mouth. And we encourage you to contact the church office at 864-654-5959 or just email ufc.org, and we will add you to the mailing list so you'll get our weekly connection and can find out about other things going on in the fellowship. It's back to school time. I followed a school bus this morning, and it's a good time to make sure that children are safe and keep them in your thoughts and prayers as they go back to school, which I know they have missed a lot and their parents have missed a lot, and also be sure to thank a teacher this week. This month's benevolence is Family Promise. If you'd like to donate to Family Promise, you can use the donate button on our website. You can also use that to pay your pledge or to make a contribution. It helps keep our doors sort of open for recording worship services and other events, and hopefully soon it will be open for more events than that. Reopening is still under review, but we're planning to have as many services as possible originate in this sanctuary, and we hope to be live streaming before too long. There are several opportunities to do some public service. Janie Shipley is coordinating Our Daily Rest. We won't be serving Our Daily Rest, but we will be doing a monthly meal, and she needs people to bring food. So Janie Shipley is your contact person. After this service today, there is social time at 11:30 via Zoom, and the link for that is on the website or on the announcement from which you got access to this service. Rhonda Powell is inviting people to make masks. There's still a big need for masks for both adults and children. And we also need more help for our virtual services team with production and also some additional worship associates. So contact the office or Reverend Martin if either of those, Reverend Christina, if either of those appeal to you. The other weekly event, of course, is bingo on Thursday at 6:30. Everyone's welcome. That's also by Zoom. And the big event coming up next week is a parade next Sunday at 12:30. You can read more detail about it in the Weekly Connection, but basically, Christina's going to be here with her art car that people have written on. It's a great story. It's one of the things that the search committee was very taken with when we read about it. So come by, roll down the window, and say hello to Reverend Christina face to face, but socially distanced. So we're going to have a little parade of cars at 12:30 next Sunday. So mark your calendar and plan to come visit Reverend Christina and make her welcome. Our opening words are by Reverend Gretchen Haley. This is a call for all people longing for liberation, all who wander too often the desert, not sure of the way forward, too often thirsty and afraid, looking for water. Here is a call to collect ourselves and the hopes we have tucked away, set aside too often for another day. Here we are building a welcome table that never finds its end, a river that cannot run dry. The waters are always rapid and then still steady, and then waterfalls. There is nothing tidy or perfect possible in this journey. Abundant life is messy and glorious, filled with risk. This is a call for the diving in with all the dreams of your heart. The struggles, the silliness, the fear, the hunger, the courage, the community, the love. Here we remember the time for joy is always now. Come, let us worship together.
Hello there. I hope everyone is safe and well this morning. Today, I want to tell you a story. People of all ages love stories, and we've been making stories and telling stories to each other since pretty much as long as human beings have been around. Nowadays, our stories are in movies or on the internet or in a book with pictures. But the first stories we had were stories that were only told with words to be listened to. The story I want to share with you today is an old story that's been told in places like India and China for many, many years. And I don't have pictures from a book to show you today. So instead, I'd like you to just listen to the story and maybe imagine the pictures inside your head. There once was an old woman who had to walk a long way to get water for her home. In order to carry as much water as she could, she carried 2 big pots hung from the ends of a pole she put across her shoulders. Have you ever seen a picture of someone carrying water like that? Every day, the woman would take her pots and walk all the way to where the water was, fill the pots, and then walk all the way home again. These 2 pots were the same size and the same shape, but one of them had a small crack in it, and it leaked water. Every day, when the old woman got home, one of the pots would be completely full of water, but the other pot would be half empty. Now, you can imagine that the pot that was always full was pretty proud of itself and the good job that it was doing carrying all that water. But the pot with the crack in it felt bad that half of its water always leaked out. So one day, the cracked pot said to the old woman that she should throw it away and get another pot that wasn't cracked to help carry all that water. But the woman refused. Instead, she said to the pot, "Today, when we go to get the water, I want you to pay attention to what you see around you on the journey." So, that day, as the old woman walked to the water, the pot looked around. On the way there, the path was dry and dusty. Everything looked so bare, and the pot began to feel a little bit sad. After she filled the pots with water, the old woman turned around and started walking back to her home. At first, the cracked pot just worried about all the water that it was dripping along the way. But then it noticed that there was something different about this side of the path. It wasn't dry and dusty. Instead, beautiful flowers grew all along the way. They looked so cheerful and so pretty that the pot almost forgot to worry about all that dripping water. When they got home, the old woman said to the cracked pot, "Did you see all of those beautiful flowers? They are there because of you. I have always known that you had a crack, and I made use of it. I planted flower seeds all along the way, and every day you have watered them and helped to make them grow. If you were not the way that you are, we would not have all of those beautiful flowers to enjoy and share. To me, you are useful and beautiful." Well, that's the end of the story. I think people have been telling this story for such a long time because it reminds us of something important. It reminds us that we all have our own unique flaws, our own cracks. But those cracks make us special and valuable. And with them, we can make something beautiful.
Reverend Christina Branum-Martin, and I come to you this morning from the Fellowship Sanctuary. How wonderful it is to be here with you today in worship, in the space, the hallowed space of our community. And the celebration of our Ingathering service today, where we come together again for a new year. We celebrate the water ceremony, and this bowl was gifted by the prior minister, Reverend Terry Bailoff. It is a beautiful bowl made specifically for us to be able to use today in our water ceremony. The water that we will collect in this bowl will then be used for any services we have this year, where we can use the water and put it on the memorial garden for anyone who we memorialize this year. And maybe even a baby dedication, we will see. But every year we collect water in this bowl. I've started today with water in the bowl already from the prior year, and then we will celebrate again next year with water from today. Thank you, Reverend Terry, for this beautiful, beautiful gift. And the celebration of her love for us as we move forward together this year, I light the chalice. Light your chalice at home if you have one ready. And let us share in our words of affirmation. We gather together in a spirit of love. This is our chosen covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth with freedom, and to care for one another. And I light 2 candles from our chalice, one for our collective joys and celebrations. Our celebration today is of community and coming together again to reconnect and to look forward to this new year together. And the second is for our collective concerns, our worries for each other, for our community, for our country, and for our world. This candle shines brightly for those in our fellowship who are still healing from COVID-19, who are dealing with health matters and chronic pain, who are dealing with the grief of having their spouse away in a new home for them at the end of their lives. We hold you in our hearts. And I know that this candle of concern is lit again because of the shooting of another Black man in this country. As you may know, on Sunday evening, police officers in Kenosha, Wisconsin, shot Jacob Black 7 times in the back as he was entering his vehicle. And inside the car, his 3 children watched his father as he was being shot. As I write this message, Mr. Blake remains in critical condition, fighting for his life. Jacob Blake, we speak your name aloud at this liminal time, holding you in prayer and in love. We surround you, a great cloud of witnesses, living and dead, holding you tenderly and sending you energy and strength as your body struggles to live and to heal. We pray for your children who will never unsee what they saw on Sunday, and we keep vigil with all who know and love you, buoying them with hope and courage. Jacob Blake, your life matters. Your body matters, your spirit matters, and we are with you. For those of you who are grieving and are broken right now, especially to our Black siblings and kin, we pray for you to have space for rest, for healing, and for grief. May you find gentleness and support and room to breathe and to rage and to mourn. And for those of you who are outraged or activated or desperate to find a way to be of use right now, we pray for you to channel that energy into organizing. If you need more information on organizations that the Unitarian Universalist Association is partnered with, please reach out to me and I can connect you to those organizations. May we keep on showing up together for ourselves, for each other, and for our collective futures. We gather today for our Ingathering service, and we have come back together as a community to mark the beginning of this year, and our water ceremony will make sacred what we share in our community. I have loved receiving your emails and photos while you have been sharing what is life-giving to you at this time. We've gotten to know each other in these new ways through email and Zoom. And these emails and Zoom meetings are a start. They are a start of what is the beginning of a new relationship with your new minister. Soon I'll begin having weekly online sessions. I know that Terry called them Tea Time with Terry. So I was thinking I'd call them Coffee with Christina, or maybe Cookies and Coffee with Christina. So please join me in those. I'll put the times in the weekly connection. There are also new covenant groups starting. I'll be leading 2 of them, one during the day and one during the evening, and I look forward to getting to know you and what you love about this fellowship. I already see that this fellowship is truly life-giving to so many of you. Reverend Richard Venus said, "What makes us a religious community is not a set of beliefs, but it's how we are together. Being religious is living as though life mattered, others mattered, and that we ourselves matter. It has far less to do with what we believe than who we are. It has to do with how we heal ourselves and the wider community of which we are a part." When I went on my first date with my husband 26 years ago, I told him that I was heading into seminary one day and then on to ministry. He was supportive then, and he is now, but he admitted at the time that he didn't understand the draw to religious community that has been ever present in my life. Well, I had grown up in the embrace of a Unitarian Universalist congregation and blossomed there. I understood and accepted that this was not what his own experience was. He fits into the category of the unchurched, as they say. His outside perspective of doing church, though, over the years, as he's seen me in leadership and as a religious educator, and now as a minister, has been insightful over the years. I was surprised during a recent conversation when he shared with some others that it was more clear to him now what was so important about religious community. My ears perked up. "Lee, talking about religious community?" He said it wasn't community, particularly like friends and neighbors and family, but community specifically. He said that most of the main purposes of church were now handled by other institutions. And when he says church, he means religious institutions as a whole. He was explaining that theology was better understood through philosophy, science, and physics. He said ministry was well served by clinically trained psychologists, social workers, and psychiatrists. And then he added that ethics was better explored in philosophy and sociology. But there was one last remaining purpose of religious institutions: community. He concluded that there was no good institution for discussing and realizing community aspirations. And there was no institution, study, or forum on how to work better together as a group. So he concluded, from his outside perspective, that religious community was still relevant and well positioned to do that. Well, as supportive as he has been of my call to ministry during all the years that we have known each other, it was hard to hear that he thought ministry could be replaced so easily. Nevertheless, he got me to thinking. Religious community is a place where we can come to practice what we aspire to be. And the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Clemson is such a place. These words for the UUFC covenant gives us space to practice with each other. This is your covenant. We come to this fellowship in pursuit of a community of love, strength, and support that is larger than ourselves. And in this spirit, we covenant to provide a safe and inclusive space for the social and spiritual needs of our diverse members, honoring different perspectives, abilities, and cultural identities. We covenant to honor our obligation to volunteer as we are able and give of ourselves in support of each other and our fellowship. We covenant to recognize and acknowledge and actively appreciate our gifts to one another, accepting our imperfections and limitations. We covenant to support and nurture each other in our community, taking responsibility to ask for what we need. We covenant to listen and speak actively, respectfully, and with caring, and have open minds, sharing our individual truths as a means to reach better understanding. We covenant to speak honestly and directly to those with whom we have issues, especially in times of conflict or disagreement. And last, we covenant to focus foremost on problem solving rather than blame, seeking the best resolutions for all involved, including our fellowship as a whole. We join in this covenant to grow and sustain a healthy and loving fellowship. These words, these are the foundation of who we are as a religious community. And as quoted earlier, what makes us a religious community is not a set of beliefs, but it's how we are together. Being religious is living as though life mattered, others matter, and that we ourselves matter. It has far less to do with what we believe than who we are. It has to do with how we heal ourselves and the wider community of which we are a part. This religious community is a place where we have a safe place to fall, even when we fall short of our covenant. A safe place to fall. We all need this. As imperfect people, always in process, we stumble. We are imperfect, vulnerable human beings, each making mistakes, hurting each other's feelings, and even while striving not to do so. Sometimes it gets personal and painful. Yet here, we can practice picking up the pieces, trying again as we reach for covenant to guide us along the way. I don't know of any other institution that has a foundation has this foundation as its purpose. Like the cracked pots from the story from Time for All Ages, we are each imperfect. One book that sits on my bookshelf is The Blessings of Imperfection by the Unitarian minister, Reverend Peter Fleck. He wrote about this struggle of being a member of a religious community. He uses the term church. So why church, he asked. We risk being part of a church because we, all of us, the congregation and the minister, want it, because we need it. And the answer is that the church, and I am now speaking of the liberal church, he writes, in spite of its shortcomings, the imperfection that characterizes everything made by humans is better, infinitely better, than no church at all. Maybe I should not have said in spite of its shortcomings, but because of its shortcomings. He continues, For isn't it true that in our churches and in these communities of spirit, we have more resources than outside our churches to accept each other's imperfections, to reconcile our differences, to forgive and be forgiven, to comfort and to be comforted, and to love and be loved? Isn't that what church is all about? Because this is what life is all about. There is no contradiction between trying to overcome imperfection, to strive for and to hope for perfection, while at the same time accepting the fact that perfection is just not in the cards. Human institutions will be imperfect because men and women are imperfect. And because of that, there is no reason for abolishing these institutions without which there is no civilization. We have to be tolerant to their imperfection while striving for perfection. We have to recognize that it is our imperfection that gives meaning to the human enterprise, and in that sense, imperfection is a blessing. So ends the quote. I thank my husband for leading me beyond my immediate reaction of defending religious institutions as a whole that day. He helped me to reflect that no other institution has been as pivotal in the shaping of who and how I am in the world. And you as a religious community, give the space to each other to practice to become who you aspire to be. I see that already in the way you interact as a community. Your covenant, your shared promise, is to be a community of love, strength, and support that is larger than ourselves. Ultimately, to be a part of a religious community is to have a safe place to fall. May UUFC continue into this year to be such a place for each of us, with all our imperfections, and to be there for each other in community. Let us celebrate this beloved community now with our water ceremony. I asked you in the last few weeks to email me and introduce yourself, to even share a photo and stories of what is life-giving to you at this time. And I've collected those responses and made them into a ceremony today, which will bless our water so that we can come together and celebrate what is life-giving at this time. What I heard from so many of you was an honoring that this is a time where things have just slowed down and have given you the opportunity to do things that you didn't have time to do before because of the rushing of life. Many of you said you simply had time to do things now like walking the dog during the middle of the day. You had time to knit, time to read, time to learn new technology, time to pause and reflect, and even time to cherish your young children in this crazy time with you kind of pinned up at home together. Others honored such gratitude for their own health, their health for their heart and soul, gratitude for health for those with long and uneven and even difficult journeys, health for your families, health for our community, and health renewed in so many ways on our earth. One family is celebrating the life-giving force and excitement with a new puppy. Another person finds connection to what is life-giving by snuggling with their kitties. Afternoon naps, connections to your covenant group, remembering that this too shall pass, enjoying the sounds of nature, by staying connected and grounded through their pagan rituals, by creating art and coloring in adult coloring books, by looking up at the cloud formations and patterns and seeing what she calls nature's art. Another wrote that it is life-giving to her to provide reassurance to her left-leaning news junkie sister. It is life-giving for those of you, so many of you, who said there is renewed focus on staying in touch with your family and your friends. Someone has life-giving gratitude for the flexible work schedules that they and their partners share that allows for them to be able to be at home with their children. Many of you mentioned listening to music, taking your daily walks and saying hello to neighbors, even if from a safe distance. It is life-giving for someone who wrote that they focus on the beauty of the ordinary and the extraordinary. To remember the opportunity to serve others and their community. And last, collectively, so many of you wrote about this sentiment, that right now, to focus on what is life-giving is to focus on the love given and received between us and our family and our friends. These words make this time sacred. These words collectively bring sacredness to this ceremony. For water is life-giving. And these words bring and imbue meaning into this water. We gather to share with intention and love what is life-giving. And each reflection is a story like a droplet of water, each unique and connected by commitment and faith and connected by community. This water, may it continue to flow through this community with shining reflections of the unique gifts that flow through each of its members. This water, may it continue to bless this community with loving reminders of our collective responsibility to one another and the world. May its ripples be a reminder that the changes and growth within this community bring movement and transformation to the world beyond our doors. May its purity offer grace to our community and the willingness to forgive ourselves and one another when we make mistakes. And in moments when we are confused or uncertain, may this water bring us clarity of purpose and commitment. In moments when the reservoirs of hearts and spirits are drained by sorrow or pain, may it nourish them with the knowledge that we are surrounded by a deep and abundant love here together. Blessed be, and may this water serve us. Our service comes to an end, and I extinguish the chalice with these words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Go in peace.